Every summer, when I bring groups to Israel, we ask them to trust us. On one evening, we tell them we're going to go to sleep really early, most likely at the Bedouin tents, and we are telling them that they need to get up at maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, to have faith in us, to trust us before they know what we are doing. Those students know that we are going to Masada the next morning. And before they know exactly what that experience will be, before they see it for themselves, they trust us and they agree to wake up at 3 a.m. When they get up to the top of Masada before sunrise, they can see, they can understand for themselves why that place is so special. When they see the sun rising over the top of the Dead Sea, they experience and they connect with thousands of other Jews from all over that are on the top of Masada with them. They see and they understand. We ask them to take back 2 rocks. They take back these 2 rocks with them, one to see and to do, and one to understand. One is for themselves, to come back, to take action, and to return to Masada. The other rock is for someone else, for someone they know, they love, and they care about, to cause that person too to understand what is so special about that place. And when they descend Masada, it is with these 2 rocks together that gives them the hope and inspiration to continue the journey. When Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel returned from Selma, Alabama, he was asked by someone, "Did you find much time to pray when you were in Selma?" Rabbi Heschel responded, "For many of us, the march from Selma to Montgomery was about protest and prayer, legs and not lips, and walking is not kneeling. And yet our legs uttered songs. Even without words, our march was worship. I felt my legs were praying." Rabbi Heschel prayed with his feet, but what was his point? That his marching, his protesting, his speaking out for civil rights was his greatest prayer of all. Rabbi Heschel and other great rabbis of the time, including Rabbi Richard Levy, a rabbinical school professor to me, Rabbi Kahn, Rabbi Keller, Paulina, rabbis like those, they put their lives on hold to stand up for what they knew was right and what they knew was necessary. This week we read, "And he took the book of the covenant, Vayikach Sefer Habrit, and read it aloud to the people, Vayikra be'oznei ha'am, and they said, all that Adonai has spoken, we will do and we will obey. Kol asher diber Adonai na'aseh v'nishma. We will do na'aseh and we will obey nishma," proclaimed the Israelites. God separated the Israelites and made them holy above the other nations of the earth, not for being the largest or the greatest, but simply because God loved them. God believed that they would uphold the covenant that he made with their ancestors. This covenant, the book of Deuteronomy tells us, will last for thousands of generations if, and only if, the Israelites take it upon themselves to guard and to do the commandments. The Israelites are set apart and made holy. They are made a kingdom of priests, a holy nation, an Am Kadosh, if and only if they remember to do the commandments, carrying out the covenant that God created with Abraham, that God reaffirmed with Jacob when he wrestled with the Ish, and he reaffirmed again with Moses and all of the people Israel at Sinai. God reminds us what he did to the Egyptians and offers us to partake in the same covenant. In order to be holy, the book of Exodus tells us we must heed and guard the commandments. In taking on our obligations to fulfill the covenant, Leviticus tells us we must obey and we must do God's commandments. Our verse in this week's Torah portion, Na'aseh v'nishma, tells us first to do and then second to obey or understand. It implores us to act with our feet, to take action, to make a difference, but then we are still obligated to nishma, to hear, to obey, to understand. This verse tells us that we are obligated to do both, na'aseh v'nishma, na'aseh and nishma. How can we do both? How can we learn and understand and observe, but also still take action? It is easy to do one or the other. We can listen, we can study, we can read, we can explore, we can talk. All of these actions of nishma are the things that we do all the time. When we like a post on Facebook about protecting Syrian refugees, when we share videos or even take part in the Ice Bucket Challenge for ALS, there is still something missing. Although actions, these steps are limited to the realm of nishma. A classmate of mine called these actions slacktivism, slacker activism, nishma without na'aseh. In a soundbite culture where complex issues are given simple 140-character explanations, we may think that we are listening. Na'aseh v'nishma, the foundation of our covenant with God, means in order to do something, we need to listen, we need to fully understand all sides when we act. When we act impulsively, when we change policies without thinking through consequences, when we turn away the stranger in our midst, we are doing without listening. These are in the realm of na'aseh without nishma. How then can we accomplish both? To carry out our obligations to the covenant, Torah implores us na'aseh v'nishma. Rabbi Abraham ibn Ezra reads this verse to separate the past from the future. Na'aseh indicates all of the laws given up until this point, and nishma indicates the laws to come in the future. The Talmud teaches when Israel uttered na'aseh before nishma, or we will do before we will hear, 600,000 ministering angels came to each and every Jew and tied 2 crowns to each one corresponding to na'aseh and one corresponding to nishma. With these 2 crowns tied together, like the 2 rocks that my students bring down from the top of Masada, we must accomplish both together. What does it take for us to actually buy into something? For us to believe in something so much that we are willing to take action, intentionally, with meaning, with purpose? For what causes can we learn and think and talk, but also do? For what can we speak up about? For what can we take a stand? For what can we march forward? In our liturgy, when we say the Shema, we can take on the hearing. We can listen, we can think, we can allow our minds to wander. But when we say the Ve'ahavta, we are called to action. We are commanded to do, to change, to love, to teach. The Ve'ahavta is all about the ways in which we can carry out God's commandments. Love Adonai, your God. Teach the commandments to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hands. Let them be for frontlets between your eyes. Write them on the doorpost of your house and upon your gates. Be mindful of all my commandments and do them, la'asot otam. It is easy to hear or even speak these words and still not to do, not to take action. The Talmud gives us a story of God uprooting Mount Sinai and lifting it up, holding it over the heads of the Israelites. God threatens them. If you accept the Torah, good. If not, I will take this, and that will be your demise. Holding Mount Sinai over their heads, pressuring them to accept the Torah, could not have happened. The rabbis needed to make clear that na'aseh v'nishma, the people's response to God, came before they even knew what God was giving them, what God was asking of them. And with blind faith, before God gave us the Torah, the Israelites told God, we will do and we will obey. God could not have held the Torah over us as a threat, could not have pressured us into accepting the laws, could not have guilted us into accepting Judaism, but only with true love could God have built this brit, this covenant with the Jewish people. Rabbi Jill Jacobs, a leading rabbi in the social justice world, is the executive director of Rabbis for Human Rights. She explains, just as the angels knew first to obey and then to understand God's word, so too the Jewish people have somehow intuited this divine secret and therefore have proven themselves as meriting the Torah. Though only one generation of Jews actually stood at Sinai, this group comprised the ancestors of all future members of the Jewish community. In other words, we were there too. We are just as obligated to this covenant as if we were there ourselves. Anytime we think about being an activist, about taking a stand, learning for the sake of improving ourselves and others, we have to transport ourselves back to that very moment at Sinai. Rabbi Jacobs continues, they accepted the Torah not only for themselves, but also for all generations to come. Each year at Shavuot, when Jews recreate the experience of the revelation at Sinai, each generation has a new opportunity to declare on its own behalf, Na'aseh v'nishma. And now no one is holding it over our heads. No one is forcing our commitment. This is a choice. This is our choice. And this is what it means to be a free people. As we go through our lives, let this week's portion be a reminder for us. We were chosen, but the reason for our chosenness is so that we can act, so we can work toward a more just and righteous world where, in the words of the book of Isaiah, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, and neither shall they learn war anymore. Shabbat Shalom.